Winston Churchill. When his name is mentioned, most people instantly recall the misty days of World War II, the voice of a resolute leader echoing through the airwaves, and a symbol of hope for the British people. But this story is not about his famous wartime victories. It's about a speech that few remember, one that history nearly buried under the dust of time. This is the tale of Churchill's forgotten, yet perhaps most visionary speech. Nazi Germany had surrendered, and Europe emerged once again from the devastation of war. Churchill had become a historical icon, the man who had led Britain through its darkest hours. But after the war, he lost the general election. The British people, weary of conflict, turned toward promises of social reform and welfare. Suddenly, Churchill found himself without power, despite his immense reputation. But he did not retreat from politics. On the contrary, he sensed a new threat looming silently on the horizon: the Soviet Union. In 1946, Churchill was invited to speak in the United States. The location was an unassuming town, Fulton, Missouri. There at Westminster College, and with U.S. President Harry Truman by his side, Churchill gave what would become one of the most significant speeches of the 20th century. The speech was officially titled "The Sinews of Peace," but it would go down in history as the Iron Curtain speech. That day, Churchill approached the microphone, his voice calm yet commanding, and declared, "From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. Behind that line lie all the capitals of the ancient states of Central and Eastern Europe, under Soviet influence." It was more than an observation, it was a warning. Churchill had sensed the growing expansionism of the Soviet Union and was urging the West to unite against this emerging threat. However, the audience that day, and much of the world, was not ready to hear it. People were exhausted from war, yearning for peace, and not eager to imagine a new confrontation. Many criticized Churchill for being paranoid or unnecessarily provocative. Some British newspapers accused him of sabotaging peace. Even in the United States, certain voices thought he had gone too far. But time would soon prove Churchill right. In the years that followed, the Soviet blockade of Berlin, the communist coup in Czechoslovakia, and the rise of authoritarian regimes across Eastern Europe began to alarm Western leaders. Churchill's words started to make more sense. The formation of NATO, the Marshall Plan, and the division of the world into East and West were all shaped by the very dynamics he had predicted. Yet ironically, this speech, so crucial in hindsight, was long overlooked in Churchill's career. Although the speech was archived, the original audio recording was incomplete for decades. Key parts of his intonation, emotional emphasis, and audience reaction were missing. But in the 1990s, a nearly complete recording was rediscovered in the archives of a retired radio technician. With careful restoration, the full impact of Churchill's words could finally be experienced again, not just as text, but in his own voice. Hearing the phrase "Iron Curtain" from Churchill himself brought a chilling resonance. Churchill's speech reflects the loneliness of those who see too far ahead. He understood that even though the guns had fallen silent, the battle for freedom was far from over. Yet those who warn too early are often the ones most criticized. This forgotten speech is more than just a historical footnote. It reminds us that speaking the truth, even before others are ready to hear it, takes great courage. Winston Churchill's speech in Fulton marked not just a warning, but a signal of a new global era. While many didn't understand him at the time, history eventually did. And now those forgotten words echo once more. An iron curtain has descended. Perhaps the greatest battles are the ones fought without a single shot.